Hi, I'm Rebecca and this is Laura and this is Bride Society. So today we are talking cake trends for 2020. So we did one of these last year and it seemed like you guys really wanted to see that. So here we are again, looking ahead to another year. How has that gone by already?
I know. Yes.
Here we are. So what are we seeing for next year? And you may notice that I'm going to defer mostly to Laura on this and her expertise, because aside from this, as you may or may not know, she also runs Green Kitchen Cakes, which is obviously a wedding cake amongst other cakes company. So obviously she encounters lots of brides and grooms to be. So finger on the pulse, I would say.
We'll see.
So yeah, straight from the horse's mouth.
Okay, I don't know if I should be offended by that, but no, okay, yeah, so what we're seeing for next year, already coming through, but I think will be a lot more popular in 2020. The first thing is mixing up the shapes of your tiers. So if you're having a tiered cake, I think hexagonal tiers especially are really becoming more popular, so maybe mixing that as your bottom tier with maybe some round
like the upper tiers.
Yeah, so round tiers above. So kind of mixing and matching shapes, kind of geometric shapes, just to add something a bit different to the kind of traditional round tiered cake.
So a bit of a twist, make it a bit more quirky kind of thing. Added interest.
Yes.
And then we're also talking about like blank space.
Yes.
Sounds very artsy, doesn't it? I feel like we're about to like start like miming and stuff. Blank space.
Is that the name of a Taylor Swift album? Or have I?
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, no, I don't
I'm not
know.
down with the kids. I'm hello.
Or a song. Anyway.
Yes.
Cakes.
Blank space between tiers.
Yes. So
or bases
tiers.
or.
So we talked in our 2020 trends video about the use of a lot of kind of acrylic, perspex, see-through, so kind of that light and airy feeling, and that's translating into the cakes as well. So whether it be actually physically your cake maker creating kind of a space within a tier, so it could be kind of an oval shaped through the tier that you can either put like a little scene in or just have the space and that you can see through it, or kind of these acrylic separators between the tiers, so it looks like each tier is floating just above the other one.
I seem as well like it gives the cake more height.
Yes,
in a lot of these situations, and I think sometimes like in my wedding, I didn't actually feel like for the number of people I needed 4 tiers.
Yeah, you have 4
Thanks.
tiers. Yeah.
She made it. It's okay. Yeah, but I felt for the effect of what I wanted visually, it needed 4 tiers. But I think if you're doing this kind of thing, like if you're having less people, you don't actually need to create as much cake and therefore potential waste and stuff, because it's creating height and grandeur without the food.
So yeah, there are different ways of having maybe a grander cake. So you could either have a fake tier if you wanted that extra height, or using things like separators.
Yeah, I feel like fake tiers is something that's kind of common as well, like to deal with this kind of thing. I don't feel like in my grandmother's time, so I'm not saying like 2020, but like current.
Yes, I think in recent
approach.
years, probably since we've been having more sponge cakes, things like that.
Where it's not as durable.
Yeah. And again, other ways to do that would be to create height would be with cake stands and different ways of displaying the cake as well. So there's lots of different options for extra. But yes, kind of space, airiness, light. I think is a trend
throughout
for
the wedding and then into the cakes. And pressed flowers is another one for us too. So edible flowers, pressed flowers. And yeah, this is one I've been noticing as well. And I know you've done quite.
I've done a couple, and
some.
I've got some more booked in for next year, and I'm really happy because I love these cakes. And also now it's not just sticking to the pressed flowers like on the side of the cake, either lots of them or just kind of sparsely decorating, but mixing the pressed edible flowers with the fresh edible, the non-pressed the kind of arrangement, so mixing and matching with those as well. But yeah, I really hope this trend continues because I think they would look really good.
You feeling it?
Yes.
Is that an expensive thing to do, or?
It can be quite expensive if you use specific edible flowers from reputable companies, like the company I use, kind of they grow organic edible flowers in the UK. it does cost. I mean, the amount of flowers you might, 3-tier cake, for example, pressed flowers on the inside, it might be £65 worth of flowers.
Okay.
So it's not the cheapest way of adding fresh flowers to a cake by any means.
No, but it's cool and it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely.
yeah, it's different. No, I like it. I like it.
Another thing that is definitely not brand new idea, but certainly remaining popular, I think, ever since Meghan and Harry got married and they had their individual tiers as their wedding cake. Cake tables with individual tiers, so not stacked on top of each other or mix and match, kind of some not stacked, a couple maybe stacked. I think that's remaining popular and a great way to kind of spread your cake out. Or if you wanted to decorate them in different ways, you can have kind of a running theme, but you could decorate them slightly differently.
Right, yeah. So yeah, if you've been like heavy on Pinterest and you're like, but I like 60 different styles of cake.
That's one way to do it.
There you go, you can pick like at least 5 of them and just spread them out around the room. It's fine. Have everything. Yes. And then painted cakes. So I'm thinking either with literally a brush and like edible paint, or painting with buttercream, to create almost like a masterpiece like of artwork on the cake. So the cake is simply just like a canvas. So assuming this might not be something that every cake person you might approach would take on, because I feel like this is quite a specialist skill. But I think some really beautiful things can be created.
There's some very talented kind of artists, like cake artists, out there that could really create something incredible if that's the kind of style you're going for.
Yeah, and people are like sort of paint like anything, like it can be quite abstract, kind of modern edge to it, which I'm quite liking, but also even just like seeing florals kind of painted on, which could be a reflection of your bouquet in it, so it can be quite personal too, I think.
Yes, definitely.
But yeah, I'm guessing you probably have to have a bigger budget for that because the amount of time that will go into it, and obviously the skill level. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, but I really like that.
So, and our final trend that we're going to talk about today is less about the cake and more about how you're displaying the cake.
Presenting the cake.
Yes. So I always think...
Get someone to stand there and just do this for the whole...
That's one way of doing it.
No, you're not loving that one? No.
Yeah. So I think it's always... You've spent a lot of money on a cake, potentially. It's always quite sad if you turn up to a venue and you just end up putting the cake in a corner that's just on a table without a cake stand, or just kind of shoved in a dark area that no one's really going to see. I think it's always nice, even if it's just putting your bouquet next to the cake after you've been carrying it, just to jazz up the cake table slightly, just to make a feature of it because you have spent so much money on the cake. But as that aside, this year definitely we saw lots of cake hoops, and I think on our Instagram we used our hula hoop and turned it into a cake hoop and put some foliage around the outside. So if you're not following us on Instagram, go and check that out. But I think this year we're less hoop and more, again, geometric shapes. So either hexagons or octagons behind the cake, or more industrial like mesh, metal, either stands or backdrops. Yeah,
and sort of and celestial with that, and not just like geometric, but sort of moon shapes, star shapes, those kind of thing, again in the sort of industrial kind of look to them.
Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be a way, depending on whatever style of wedding you're having, you can kind of bring that in, or the style of decor that you're having, you can bring that in as part of your cake display. Just make it more of a feature.
Yeah, sort of a focal point.
Definitely.
Yeah, because you obviously have photographs there as well, don't you?
Yes.
Like it is a photograph point. So yeah, having your backdrop, I think, is pretty cool. I wish I had thought of that for my wedding, actually. There you go. Hindsight, have to do it again. I'll inform my husband later. Yes, so they are our top picks for 2020. If you're doing any of these, let us know, tag us in photos. We'd love to see what you end up doing. And if you like this video, give us a like and subscribe. And if you've got any video requests, let us know in the comments below, because we'll do our best to help you out. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.